Let's start off by changing the tempo of the track to 122. Let's change the key to D minor. And let's go and create a quick kick pattern. I'll take this kick, it's my favorite. Create an empty MIDI clip. And to create a quick pattern now in Ableton Live 12, let's use the rhythm generator. And let's click on this C1, hold down Shift and get it to C3 by clicking the up arrow. And the last thing that you want to do is change the velocity of this 127 to 100. And there you have a quick kick pattern. Let's go ahead and make some percussions now. And for that, let's use the seed MIDI generator. And let's select what sounds we would like to program. I'd like to program these two. So I'll hold on Alt and click on this. And then go here and click the up arrow to select the other sound. The duration I'm going to keep at 1/16. The velocity, lowest velocity, I'm going to keep at 80. Voice is at 1 and density at 100. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select only half a bar. And I'm going to get rid of this pattern and create a new one by clicking this arrow button here. Now let's hear what Ableton has given us. Let's create a new one. Let's create another one. I like this, so I'm going to keep this. And let's extend this MIDI clip. So maybe let's pull this out to 4 bars. And this one, let's pull this out as well. And let's duplicate this till we get to 2 bars, right? Now it's just repeating on and on, right? So I want some changes happening at the last portion of the second bar. So I'm going to delete that part, make sure that I make a selection here. So whatever I do here, the changes will reflect only in this part, all right? So the changes I want is, I want more conga sounds. I want the duration to change from 1/16 to 132 and the lowest one to 1/16 from 1/8. And the velocity to go down to maybe 60, the lowest one, and the highest one maybe to 80. And you can see on the right hand side the changes are happening only to the selection I have made. So now let's hear it. Let's increase the lowest velocity to 70 and the highest to 90. Let's keep going till we get the perfect pattern that we are looking for. Yeah, I like this pattern a lot. Let's go into this panel and let's select the notes and just let's humanize this a bit, say maybe 20%, and just click on humanize. Makes it sound more human. Okay, let's make a tambourine pattern now. Let's go into the drums, click on percussions, tambourine, and this is the sound I want to use. So let's create a quick MIDI clip, and the pattern I want is going to be very simple. That's it. Rest I'm going to do with the help of the velocity. So it's very easy to edit velocity in Ableton. All you have to do is select the note and enter the value on your keyboard. So for this note I want the velocity of 50, second note 70. Just select the note and enter the value. That's it. The third one I'll let it be at 100 and the fourth one again at 70. Now let's hear the pattern. Very nice. Now let's go ahead and edit the sound a bit. Let's go into our simpler, into the controls, and let's play around with the amp envelope. The sound is very full, so I'm going to play around with the sustain first. Yeah, somewhere around here is good for me. Next thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to play around with the attack, because I don't like the transient, the loud attack on the sound. So I'm going to play with the attack and make it sound more like a shaker. Also, I'll play around a little with the decay. Okay, I'm happy with the sound. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pitch this down a bit. Let's open the decay a bit. Yeah, this sounds more like a shaker and a mix of tambourine as well. Okay, let's move ahead to our next step. Now let's add some groove to these sounds. For that, let's go into the browser, click on grooves, and in the search bar, let's look for perk. And the first groove that we're going to take is conga accent. The other one we're going to take is perk tambourine. And let's search for one more, that is Logic 16, 53, right? Now let's add these to these sounds to make it sound more groovy and human. So let's go here. Let me solo this and play this for you first. How this is sounding without the groove and how does it sound with the groove. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's go into the groove panel and select our conga groove. This is with the groove. Now let's hear it without the groove. See how it's constant and keeps going flat, right? So let's select the groove and let's edit our velocity in the groove to around 45. Yeah, sounds good. Let's go ahead and do the same with the tambourine pattern. Let's go to the groove panel and select tambourine. And now let's hear the tambourine pattern. Now let's hear it without it. See how flat it is. Now let's put that and let's edit the velocity again of the groove of tambourine to 40%, or maybe let's keep it at 45. Now let's hear both the sounds with the grooves. I love it. Next, let's go ahead and sidechain these guys. Let's select the clip of the conga. Let's go into the envelopes. And to show what I'm actually doing, let me bring up the mixer for you. Let's get rid of the in and out of this thing. And let's go ahead and get the device panel as well. Okay, so now I'm into the envelope section and I've selected the conga clip, right? Now we want to sidechain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here and I'm going to click on the mixer. So the mixer panel shows up here, and then I'm going to click on linked and make it unlinked, and I'm going to take the loop brace and pull it to only half a bar. Zoom in and then right click and select the shape. And then I'm going to bring up the pencil by clicking the B on my keyboard. Get rid of the pencil again by clicking the B, and then by holding Alt, I'm going to draw this curve. So you're modulating the volume, and this is how I sidechain, but the ducking is happening too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick it up to around 50%. So I'm going to right click and say edit value and enter 50. That's too much. So let's reduce it to say maybe 70. Let's reduce it to 65%. Yeah, I like that much. So I'm going to move ahead and do the same with the tambourine now. So what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to select the clip, go into the envelope section, then click on the volume fader on the mixer of the tambourine. Make sure it's showing up here in the modulation panel. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the linked button here and make it unlinked. Then I'm going to take this loop brace. I'm going to make sure that it's only half, and then right click and select this shape. Click B, get the pencil tool to draw this thing like this. click here, get rid of the dot, hold Alt, and then draw this curve. Now let's have a listen to the tambourine. That's too much of a ducking, so let's keep it at 60. Yeah, sounds good. Let's move to our next step. Let's make the bass sound now. For that, I'll go into the browser and take the wavetable synth, add it in the track, create a MIDI clip, and make a quick, simple MIDI pattern. Let's hear it. That's it. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just increase the note length of these guys, and this one as well. Let's lower the octave. Yeah, I like that octave. Let's shape the sound now. Let's select the sub 2 category, and let's go into the amp envelope, reduce the release. Sounds good. I'll push the sustain all the way up so I have the full and fat sound. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some movement on the wavetable. So I'm going to click here, go to the matrix. I'm going to add the movement with the help of envelope 2. So let's do that. I'm going to increase this. Let's move this position from here to here. Let's shape the envelope 2 a bit. Let's reduce the decay a bit. I want it a little plucky. Awesome. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play with the filter frequency. And I'll make the filter frequency open again with the help of the envelope 2. Let's go into the matrix again, mod matrix, and let's add a filter frequency on envelope 2. Let's change the filter slope from 12 to 24. I think 20 is a bit up, so let's get it down. Yeah, that's more like it. Let's increase the oscillator position in the mod matrix. Next, let's add some distortion to our bass, so say maybe 5 or 6 dB. Next, let's go ahead and sidechain this guy. So let's open up the mixer, click on the MIDI clip, make sure that everything is visible. Click on the fader on the mixer of the bass track, go to the envelopes, make sure that the track volume in the mixer section is showing, then click on this link button and make it unlinked. Also drag this loop brace and make it half a bar or quarter of the bar. Right click, select the shape, then get this shape with the help of the pencil. Draw a small curve like this. And that's how you sidechain. But this is too much of a ducking, so let's put this up to 60%. That's nice. Let's move to the next sound. Let's move ahead and make some claps. For that, let's go into the instruments and take the drum rack. Next, let's go into the drum section, click on claps, and take this sound, put it in our drum rack. Next, let's take this sound, put it in our drum rack as well. And now let's make a quick pattern like this. Let's hear it. Perfect. Let's add the groove. Very nice. Okay, so before we move on, let's get rid of all these views, make it a little clean, and let's program some more percussions. And for that, let's go into a browser drum section and let's search for African, and let's take this kit, add it in our track, and this is the sound I'd like to program. And to program this sound, I'm going to use the rhythm generator. So let's make some changes in here first. Let's change the step duration from 8 to 16th. Let's change the steps from 8 to say about 6. Pattern, let's keep it to 6, and density, let's keep it to 3, no worries. And the last thing I would like to do is change this from a bar to half a bar. That's it. Now let's give it a hear. Perfect, I like that. Let's go ahead and create the next sound, and for that, again, let's go into the browser and search for conga, and let's take the conga A kit. So the sounds I would like to program in this kit is this one, and this one. So let's do some changes in the rhythm generator for this. Let's go into the steps and move it from 6 to 7. Pattern, let's move it from 10 to 7, and let's keep the density at 3, no worries. Let's delete all these notes. Let's shorten the length of the MIDI clip to half a bar, and let's select this sound by holding Alt and clicking on it, and let's say generate. Now let's go ahead and create the same pattern in the next sound, in the other sound. For that, let's click inside the piano roll and then go and click on the sound that you want by holding Alt, and let's generate it. Again, let's go inside the piano roll and click, and now select the sound by holding Alt and clicking, and then click generate, and here's the pattern. Alright, it sounds okay. Now I want it to sound like really in your face, so let's go into the audio effects, and let's clear this. Let's go into distortion, and let's see what do we have. We have saturator. Let's take the saturator and add it. Let's look at the piano roll and the device, because now we have that. Thank you, Ableton. Now let's see, after adding the saturator, how good it's sounding. It's okay, it can be a little loud, so let's change the saturator type. Yeah, sounds good. Okay, so let's move on and let's create some hi-hats now. And for hi-hats, I'm going to be using these sounds. Alright, so let's start adding them in the drum rack. And then there are some rides as well, so I'll just go into this and let's select this one. Next, let's just rename them. Let's call this hi-hat 1. Let's call this one hi-hat 2. Let's call this one open hats 1. This one open hat 2, and this one open hat 3. Alright, and now what we're going to do is we're going to just take this loop brace and make this half a pattern. So the pattern that we're going to make, starting with this sound, is very simple. This, let's hear it. Right, the second sound, which is this, let's create a simple pattern like this. Actually, let's make it only quarter bar, delete these guys. Let's zoom in. Alright, now let's edit the velocity of this pattern. So the first one I would like to keep at 50, the second one at 70. Remember, it's very easy to edit velocities. Just select the notes and enter the value on your keyboard. That's it. Let's keep the third one at 100, and this one again, the last one, at 70. Right, and let's hear it. Okay, Now let's go ahead and program the open hi-hat, which is this. Okay, so this is hanging a lot, the open hi-hat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this from the one-shot mode to classic, and then just change the amplitude of it. Just reduce the release. Right, and now let's layer this with open hi-hat 2, which is a ride sound. Right, I'm going to keep the same pattern, and let's go ahead and listen how it's sounding. Again, this sound is also hanging a lot, so I'm going to do the same. I'm going to click on this, change it from one shot to classic mode, go to the controls, try and edit the amplitude envelope for this. It sounds okay, but to make it cut through the mix, I'm going to change the pitch of it. So let's see if low pitch sounds better or the higher pitch. Let's do that. I like it at -1 semitone. Now let's go ahead to the last sound, which is also a ride, and I'm going to make the same pattern like the first one here, and let's add it here. Let's hear it. Again, this is doing the same thing, hanging a lot. So I'm going to go inside this tone. I'm going to convert it from one shot to classic mode. Go to the controls, click on amplitude, and let's see what we can do by editing the amp envelope of this. Sustain, let's get it down a bit. Just playing around with the decay and sustain so it sits well in the mix. It's not audible right now, so let's change the pitch of it. Let's reduce the release a bit. Let's push it up 1 semitone up. Let's try and mute it in the drum rack and see if it's making any difference. Of course it's making a difference. It's very subtle, but it is making a difference. So let's keep this pattern and move ahead to the next part. Before we move any further, let's make sure that these drums are sounding good with each other in the mix. So let's first go ahead and add the grooves to all these guys. So first, these two percussions that we made, let's add the conga accent groove to that, and let's add the tambourine groove to the hi-hat. Next, let's go ahead and pitch these drums. So to do that, let's go into the percussion 1 track and let's add a spectrum in the percussion 1 track. Right, let's solo it. Remember, we are in the key of D minor. So let's expand the spectrum. Let's solo each drums first. So it's showing me the pitch of E. We are in D minor, so we need to make this an F. So let's go ahead into our controls. Let's transpose it 1 semitone up. Yeah, we are in F right now. Let's go ahead and solo the other percussion. And this is C. So we need to go 2 semitones up. Yeah, this is D. Let's go ahead and do the same with the other percussion sound. So let's add the spectrum in it. Let's solo it. And let's expand the spectrum. Let's point our mouse at the peak of the spectrum. And it's showing us C. So let's transpose it to D by going into the transpose and pushing it 2 semitones. Yes, we are in D. Let's go ahead and do the same with the last percussion sound, which is the track called percussion 3. Let's add the spectrum and let's expand the spectrum. These 3 percussions are playing, so let's solo each one first. Make sure it's selected. Let's take our mouse to the peak, and that's A, and the A is the 5th of D minor, so that's okay. Let's go ahead with the next sound. This is the peak, so let's take our mouse there. It's showing F, so F is the 3rd of D minor. Let's keep it there. Let's take the last sound, solo it. Let's take our mouse at the peak, and it's showing B. So from B we need to go to A, and to do that, let's go this 2 semitones down. Let's click on this knob and let's go to some. Yes, we are at A now, and all our percussions are pitched. Let's hear it now. Let's add the kick and hear it. Beautiful. Let's move to the next step. Next, let's sidechain the percussion 2, 3 and the hi-hats. So first let's solo the percussion 2. Click on the MIDI clip. Go to the envelope section in the piano roll. Make sure that mixer track volume is showing. Make this much of a selection. Right click, select the shape. Select your pencil by clicking B. Get rid of the pencil. Get rid of this dot here. Hold Alt and make the shape. Let's hear this. That's too much of a ducking, so let's push this up to say 60%, right? And then let's take this and just duplicate this. Let's play it with the kick. Yeah, sounds perfect. Let's move on to the percussion 3. Let's do the same. Select the MIDI clip. In the mixer, make sure you click on the track volume fader. In the piano roll, click on the envelopes. Make sure you're on mixer track volume. Make sure it's showing. Select only half a bar or quarter of the bar. Select the shape by right clicking. Select the pencil tool. Get rid of this dot. Hold Alt. Push this down. And let's take this up to 60%. Select this much and just duplicate it. Let's hear this with the kick. Yeah, sounds nice. Let's hear it with the other percussions. Oh, this sounds so good. Let's carry on with sidechaining the hi-hats now. Let's do the same thing by clicking the MIDI clip first. In the mixer, click on the volume fader. In the piano roll, go to the envelopes, make the selection, right click, select the shape, B, change the shape like this, hold Alt, get it down, and then from here just get it up to 50 or 60%. Let's start off by 60 and let's hear it. Sounds awesome. Okay, let's move on and make some fills. For that, let's go into the drum section of our browser and let's search for a kit called Conga. Let's take this kit, add it to a track. Let's open the MIDI clip, pull it up all the way and see how many sounds we have. Quite a bit. So the pattern that I want is, let me just first solo this track and switch on the metronome so that you all can hear the pattern. So what I want is a pattern like this, okay? A gap of these two blocks in between. Alright, so now let's hear this. Very nice. And I want 3 notes to come towards the end. Very nice. So this is the fill, so I want the drums to be like right in your face, loud, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all the notes and enter the value of 127 on my keyboard, right? And now let's hear it with the velocity of 127. Very nice. Now next what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these 3 notes which are playing right at the end, and I'm going to add a little velocity variation, a velocity ramp towards the end. And to do that, I'm just going to go here on the left hand side of this ramp. I'm going to enter a value of 110. Now let's hear that. Great. It's giving some variation towards the end, just like a slight snare roll, right? Now next what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch off this headphones, and I'm going to copy all the notes, and I'm going to paste it on each and every sound. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you why I'm doing this. Okay, select all, keep pasting it, right? All right, we have everything. Now in case these are not aligned properly on top of each other, what you can do is you can select all the notes here, go here, click here, and then go into the quantize section. Make sure that you have the start and end selected and 116th selected here, and just click on this transform, and there it will just, everything will align to the grid. All right, next let me just lower the volume, because I'm going to play this to make you hear how it's actually sounding. So let me just get this down to -10. Let me just play this now. Next what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my MIDI effects, clear this, and I'm going to take the I'm just going to go and take the arpeggiator and add it in our track. Okay, next in the arpeggiator what I'm going to do is I'm going to select random other, and the rate I'm going to select is of 1/16. Okay, so now what arpeggiator is going to do is every time a note is triggered, is going to select one of these random sounds. So every time for 1 bar we're going to get a random, the same fill with random sounds. Okay, next what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this audio track that I've created, and the input I'm going to select the audio coming from the fills, and I'm going to set it to the arm to record, and I'm going to go ahead and record this track onto this audio track. Okay, so let's go ahead and do it. Wait, it's recording like really low, so I'm just going to redo this whole thing. Okay, I'm just going to go here, and then again please lower the volume on your speakers or your headphones, because it's going to be like really distorting. Okay, so let's go ahead. That's it. Okay, so this is what we have done, and now what you can do is mute this guy, go into our audio track, click here, zoom out, and here is the pattern that Ableton has given you. Okay, next thing what you can do, if you don't want to do this, what you can do is you can just go to this audio track, right click and click on show take lanes, and it will show you what all has been recorded. So you can use the comping feature of Ableton, and then you can take the pencil tool, make sure you're in a say 16th grid, and then you can actually, let me just solo this. Maybe you may want this sound, and then after that you may want this, and then this. You can create a new fill with whatever you feel like. All right, so you can select whatever, right, whatever, but I'm not going to do that in this thing, but I'm just going to keep it very simple. get rid of this show take lanes, and I'm just going to go and maybe manually select one of the patterns here. So let's hear it with our groove, or with yeah, let's hear it with all the drums, how it's sounding. Where is the kick, my dear friend? Okay, is this on loop? No, it's not. So let me switch the loop on. Let's take the first pattern. Oh, this is so good, the first one. So I'm gonna keep this. Let's get rid of this view. Okay, so how I'm gonna use this is very simple. I'm just going to just arrange this much portion. I'll just show you what I mean. Okay, let's pull this guy down, this MIDI track. Let's keep it here. We may need it later. Let's save the project. Alright, and then I'm going to take this guy, put it right in the end of the bar, and get rid of the kicks on top. And now let's hear this. 1 second. Just let's switch on all the drums, and now let's hear it. Perfect. This sounds so good. Now you can actually go inside and audio and actually push this volume up. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the saturator here, which already is in my track, already added. So I'm just going to push the volume by changing these curve types in the saturator. So let's select the medium curve and let's hear it again. That's too loud. Let's keep it to soft sine. Hear it again. Perfect. Very nice. Remember, we have quite a bit of fills with the same pattern. All right. In case you want to use another one while we are arranging the track, we can always use the fills. All right. All right. Let's make some snare roll. For that, again, let's go into the browser, drums, and let's click on snare, and then just in the browser select 9 on 9, and I like the sound, so I'm gonna take this, add it to the track, and let's create a 4-bar MIDI pattern. So right click, create a MIDI clip, get rid of the pencil, click here, switch on this headphone thing again, click on legato, so we have one long note running throughout the entire 4 bars. And to quickly generate a snare roll now in Ableton 12 is very easy. Just make sure that you've selected the note and then click Command E, and it chops up the note according to your grid, which is here. All right, now just select all the notes and get this guy down to maybe 60. Okay, 60, and this guy all the way up to 127. Let's take this guy to 70. Okay, let's mute the fills for now, and let's hear the drums with the snare roll. Okay, sounds good. What I'm going to do is to make it sound more loud. There are two ways. You can add a saturator. Also, if you don't want to add a saturator, you can go here and select one of these distortion types and just push the drive up. So maybe 6 dB, right? Let's do that. Perfect. This sounds nice. Next, let's start arranging these drums a bit. First, I'm going to do this. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to mute this guy here, the fills. Mute this guy here. And let's hear this now. Sounds so good. Okay, next let's add some reverb and delays to our tracks to make them sound more awesome. There are only 2 return tracks as of now, so let's add one more, because for this project I need 3 return tracks, and this is how I set reverb and delay in my projects, and I'm going to show you how I do that. It's very simple. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the audio effects, and where's the reverb here? Reverb. Yeah, here, reverb, and the first one I'm going to make is the drum verb. Alright, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for drum room. I think, yeah, this is the one, and I'm going to add it. So this is not just it, okay? I'm going to show you what more to do. Okay, usually drum reverbs are shorter in the decay time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click anywhere, and I'm going to select 1/32. Now this is the most least spoken tip about Ableton Live that most of us know, and I'm going to share it with you. So now that you have selected the grid of 1/32, select any one block anywhere in the audio track or the return track, anywhere. And when you do that, select one block, you'll get a number down on the bottom left. Alright, and that number you just add it in your decay. Okay, but when you do that, add a 0 right at the end. Okay, so what I mean by this, now I've just selected a block and it's giving me a number of 061. So I'm going to do is I'm going to come here and I'm going to type 61 and add a 0. Okay, so that's the drum verb. Let's go into the second return track, and let's add a bright room. The only difference now for the synth reverb, I'm going to select a longer grid time. Alright, so maybe 1/8. After selecting 1/8 grid time, I'm going to select one more block, either in the audio track or the return track, doesn't matter, and I'm going to look for the number that is given to me. Okay, and the number is 246. Remember to add a 0 after the number 246, and then there's 0. Alright, make sure your dry and wet is full. Right, I'm going to rename this guy called synth verb. Also, a lot of people I've read in a lot of forums and everything, they complain about the return track volume in Ableton Live. They think it's very lower or softer compared to Pro Tools or Logic or the other DAWs. So what you have to do is, to solve that problem, just go to your audio effects, select a utility, add a utility, and just I keep it at +10. You can keep it at whatever. I'm going to do the same, add a utility in the synth verb track as well, +10. Delay, I'm just not going to do much here in the delay track. I'm just going to see to it that the feedback is at 50%, and I switch on the ping pong. Also utility and 10. Now this utility thing is completely optional. You can skip this if you don't like. Alright, and I'm just going to rename this and call this delay, and just color them even. Alright, I like my projects to be well organized. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go, and one by one I'm just going to add the reverb to these sounds. So these are all drum sounds, so I'm going to add the drum verb to this. Okay, so I'm just going to solo this track, play it. Okay, and then I'm going to push the reverb up. Yeah, this guy is okay at here. This one, yeah, this one is good here. I don't want reverb on the bass. Claps, let's do the same to the claps. Right, let's go to the percussion 2. percussion 3. That's fine for percussion 3. Now let's do the same for high percs. Solo it. Right. Okay, let's add some reverb to the fills as well. Let's just play this much in loop. Alright, this is fine. Let's unmute the snare roll and let's add solo this, and let's add the drum verb to the snare roll as well. Perfect. Let's hear this together. Let's switch on the snare roll here and let's keep the fills this side. All right, let's play this now with the reverbs. Very nice. Now I'm going to add the finishing touch to this entire rhythm programming, and I'm going to take the FX, one sweep down and one sweep up, and I'm going to add them to the tracks here. I'm going to take both the tracks and keep them up here. Also, I'll arrange all this later. For now, I'll just minimize the track and just give it a hear of how this is sounding. I'll just pull this thing down with levels, and I'll just get this guy as well down. Let's hear. Let's mute the snare roll. Perfect. Also, one more thing I'll do is I'll add another audio track. I'm going to call this a crash. Color them same. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my samples, clear this off, and pull this guy up. I'm going to go here into Kashmir, one of my favorite sample packs, into crashes, and let's hear what we have. Yeah, this sounds good, so I'm going to add this here. Okay, and I'm going to pull this guy down as well, just a little bit. Let's hear it. Nice. Next thing what I'm going to do is, I know I said I'm not going to arrange anything right now, but I feel I need a little bit of arrangement here, so I'm going to unmute this fill here, mute this guy here, mute the snare roll here, and unmute it here. Also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the snare roll, select all the notes, and the ramp down, I'm going to pull it down. So maybe 15. So I want the volume like to really come up from the low volume. I want it to go all the way up. I hope that makes sense. Now let's give it a hear. See how the snare roll gradually rises up in volume. That's what I wanted. Okay, let's start adding some synths. So the first synth I want to add, let me get rid of this. First synth I want to add is a pluck synth. Right, let me just, okay, now let me just, and the pattern that I want is very simple. This is the pattern. That's it. All right, let's hear it. Let's solo and hear it. It's constantly going on like that. All right, so let's add some, let's do some sound designing for this. All right, let's minimize this. Let's get our view proper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the sustain down because I want the synth to be a little plucky. Right, as you can hear. Let's play with the decay so it becomes a little plucky a little more. Let's push up the release a bit. Just a bit, that's it. Great. Let's try and add some noise. Okay, this is okay. Let's add some movement to the sound with the filter. And to do that, let's add envelope 1 and let's try and open the filter. Let's hear it with everything. Let's mute the FX for now so that it doesn't disturb us while we are programming this. The decay seems to be too short and it's sounding very plucky. Yeah, this is the sound I want. Let's change the mode from poly to stereo and let's add some stereo information. Great. Also what I would like to do is put on the second oscillator, get it to a normal volume, change the oscillator type from sine wave to saw wave, and let's hear this now. Let's detune it a bit. Let's cancel the detuning. Alright, let's process the sound. So for that we will go into our audio effects. Do we have the chorus? No, so let's search for it. Chorus ensemble. Great. Switch the ensemble on. Push the amount. So we want this spread to happen. Now let's clear this. Let's add the OTT. Let's add the OTT. And to set the OTT, this is what I do. I switch on the mid band only on the OTT. And I set these high and the low bands so that I can hear only the mid frequency. And this is how I set it. Alright, so I'm just going to show you how I set it. So let's do this. What you want to hear is only the mid frequency. Let me solo this. Right now you can hear quite a bit of low mid frequencies. Let's adjust the high band as well. I think this is good enough. Let's unsolo it. Let's adjust the amount once we hear the sound. Okay, nice. Next, what I want is the drum bus. I'm going to add the drum bus. And what I'm going to do here is just increase the transient. Alright, And the last thing I would like to do is click on this utility, add the utility, and just spread the width, because I want this sound to be like a little wide. Alright, great. Now next thing I want to do is add the reverb and delay to this. So let's go into the synth verb. I remember putting the bright room, so let me change that preset from bright room. Actually I wanted to add main room and I ended up putting something else. So let's go to reverb, go here, and there's a preset called main room. Where is it? Here it is. Okay, so I'm gonna add this here, and decay time was 2460. Right. Okay, now let's add the reverb and delay to the sound. Alright, minus 18 is good. Let's add some delay. Yeah, delay is there. I think that much delay is fine. Now let's go into the clip, open it up, because we want to side chain it. So let's click on the MIDI clip, select envelope, also select on this. Let's open up the mixer, click on the volume fader, and make sure you're on track volume of the mixer, and then click on unlinked. Okay, it was 1.2. all right, so select this shape and just get this up to around 60%, right? 60%. Oops, 60, right? I think it can be more, so let's get it to 50. Alright, also we need to correct the shape, so with the pencil tool we'll do that, and then click on this dot, we don't want it, and then hold Alt and make a curve here, right? Yeah, we want this kind of ducking. Alright, now let's get the volume down a bit and let's hear it with the track. This synth is not going to be like right in your face, it's going to be somewhere behind, supporting the rhythm. Alright, let's move on to the next sound. So for the next pattern I'm going to be using the drift, and to create the pattern I'm going to be using the rhythm generator. And so let's go ahead and create some steps. Let's add some steps. Let's keep odd number in the steps and even in the density, and also in the loop length. I don't want it to be even, I want it odd. So let me just solo this with the kick and let me play this with for you. Let's change the pattern. No, let's change the pattern more. Let's reduce the density a bit. Let's play with the pattern. Now we're looking for some pattern, random pattern, but with decent amount of rhythm and notes. Okay, let's add. Okay, this sounds good. Let's go ahead and design the sound. Okay, now let's get the filter down so we can modulate it with envelope 1. Let's add some release. Add some noise. Let's add just a little bit of resonance. Right, and next let's add some OTT to the sound. For that, let's go into the dynamics. Let's take the OTT, solo the mid band. All you want to hear is the mid frequency. For that, just let's hear the synth on its own. Let's open up the high band a bit. I think that's good enough. Let's change the poly mode and let's switch to stereo mode from poly mode. Great. Now let's go into distortion again and let's add the overdrive. Let's get the drivette down. Let's add a bit more of drive. Right, let's hear it with everything. Okay, sounds good. Let's get this down a bit in volume. Right, let's pull this out. Pull this out as well. Pull this out as well. Solo the lead. Add some reverb. Let's get some delay in as well. Right, now it's time to sidechain this guy. So let's go into the MIDI clip, click on envelopes, make sure that you have the mixer track volume selected, click on this linked button to make it unlinked, and this unlinked brace, loop brace, make sure that you are on 1.2, then right click, select the shape, and then edit the shape by getting your pencil by clicking B, and then get rid of the pencil and just click on this dot to edit the shape more, and then hold on Alt and get the curve like this, right? And let's just see if the ducking is good enough. Let's get the mixer view up. Let's see. I think 60% is a good point to start off. I think this can be 70, I think. We can edit this always later if we need it, but right now it's sounding nice. So let's move on. I think the delay is lots, so let me just reduce the delay. One more thing I would like to add here is auto pan. Let's take the auto pan, just add just a slight amount of this. Just a slight amount of it, very little. Next, let's add some piano to our track, and for that let's go into sounds in the browser, click on piano, acoustic. They both sound the same, so let's add them to our track. Let's create a MIDI clip. Let's shorten this guy. Make sure your scale is highlighted, and let's go ahead and create a good pattern now. No, I want to just hear the kick and the piano. Also some percussions will be great. All right. Let's increase the pattern length. Let's pull this guy out. Yeah. No. So notice one thing, that I'm leaving a gap of 2 blocks between each note. So it's giving me that movement in the melody. Okay, I'm going to change this note to C again. Perfect. So now let's create chords on this, because I want the chords to be playing in the same rhythm. So let's go here, enter number 2, and boom. And then the 5th note, what you need to do is click on this add interval, and then you have this. Now let's hear this. Okay, this one can be different. Perfect. This is sounding so nice. Now next thing what I want to do is I want to increase the note length. So for that I'll clear this, go into my browser, MIDI effects, and where's the note length? Here it is. So I'm just going to click on this dial here, knob, and just push it up a bit. Let's push this up a bit more. Very nice, sounding very nice. Let's pull this guy out. Now let's hear everything together. Get this down a bit in volume. Great. Now let's go ahead and select all the lowest notes, and just let's push them up to octave or 2, and then let's hear it. Great. Next, let's add some chords. So for that, let's click on this MIDI clip that we've created, and let's click on this piano chord pattern that we have, and then click on this focus, and these are the ghost notes that you can see from the piano track that we created earlier. So let's go ahead and with the help of these ghost notes, let's create the chords and their timing. So let's first solo this with the piano and also solo the kick, so we know what rhythm we are getting. Okay, so next let's add it till here, A, C, right, and one note here. All right, let's pull this out, and E G C and C E G, it's the same chord, so I'm going to pull this guy all the way out. I'm going to create the last chord here. Very nice. So let's go ahead and sidechain the piano as well as these chords, right? So let's go into the piano track first. Solo the piano, click on the MIDI clip, go to the envelopes and click on this linked button. It's the same thing, you know the drill. Zoom in so you can see the pattern well. Select the shape. B to get the pencil tool. Get rid of the pencil tool now. Click on this dot, get the shape. Hold Alt, pull this down, make the shape like this. Because this is our lead sound, I don't want much of ducking happening on this, so maybe 80%, not much. Maybe 90, not much, because this is piano. Okay, sounds good. Let's solo the chords now. Let's get this thing here and let's pull this out here. Now let's hear this. Yes, I like this rhythm better. Let's hear it with the piano. Yeah, sounds nice. Let's go ahead and sidechain this guy, go into the envelopes. Let's go into the mixer, select track volume, click on link to make it unlinked, zoom in, select the shape. Yeah, get this guy up, say 60 is a good starting point. Hold on Alt, get this curve down. Alright, this is nice. You can get it to 50 if you feel like. That's okay. Remember, we can always edit all these things later. Alright, now let's minimize all these guys so I can get to take a look of everything that we've made. Let's clear the names of this, right? And let's go into the piano and add an OTT to make it sound more dancey and more in your face kind of stuff. So let's go to the audio effects, dynamics. Let's select OTT, solo the mid band. Now what you want to hear is only the mid frequency, remember that. Okay, this is good. Let's go into distortion and let's add roar and see if we can change the sound a bit. Let's make it more brighter. Let's add some reverb to this. Just a little bit of delay. let's do the same with the chords. Now for the chords I want, let's clear this off first and let's look for chorus. Right, chorus. Okay, and let's add just a little bit of amount, get the dry wet a little down, hear it. Alright, sounds good. Let's add some reverb. Delay. Alright, let's add some vocals now. Let's get this vocal in, and it's in C minor, so first let's go and transpose this to D by pushing this knob up to 2 semitones up, and let's change it to Complex Pro. Let's pull down the volume a bit so it doesn't blow our ears, and let's hear this. You got that happy. Right. Let's delete this much. We don't need anything more than this. And let's start arranging the track. But before I start arranging, let me do last few things. First, I'll just mute this vocals here. Then I'll go into all the synths that I've programmed, including the pianos and everything. So first is this. Let me just solo this, and I'm going to select all these guys, especially the leads, right? So I'm going to select and solo these guys first. Let me just hear it. I'm going to add the groove into this. So let's start with the conga groove and just hear it, how it's sounding. With the kick. Okay, it sounds nice. Let's do the same to the piano. Let's hear the piano and the kick and the other synths. Sounding a bit weird. Let's remove the groove. Let's select this swing logic, the last one. Yeah, that one sounds nice. Let's get out of all this, and I'm going to select the percussions that I programmed and select them all so I can see them all at once. Get rid of the focus mode, and let's see if I can add some humanization. So around 20%, and let's click on humanize. Now let's just hear the kick and these percussions along with the bass and some other percussions. Yeah, you see how it makes a huge difference, right? Adding that humanization, little movement it adds into the drums, velocity, and so much, and it's so important for the drums in Afro house track. Let's try and do the same with the synths. First, let's select these two, the saw lead and the plug synth, and let's click on humanize. Let's solo this. I'm sorry about that. Brilliant. And I'll keep the piano as it is because I want it in your face loud. Alright, let's move on. Next thing I have noticed is my master track is clipping when I play everything together. So I'm just, please lower the volume. I'm gonna play this and I'm just gonna show you my master's clipping. And for that I'll just go into my master channel and I'll add glue compressor, and I'll make sure that I switch on the soft clip on, and I'll get the range all the way down. That way my master will not clip. Right, now let's move ahead and start arranging this track of ours. So first I'm going to minimize all these guys. Okay, and let's get this duplicate, right? So let's see what we have. Let's hear it from the beginning. Let's put off the solid piano and the chords. Let's switch it off. Alright, also there may be some parts of the percussion that we don't need in the intro of the track, like the hi-hats, like the percussion 3 and the percussion 2, also the clap. So let's hear this much. Right, this sounds good, but why are the effects is off? All the effects, I'm going to switch them on. Also the bass can go off. Now let's hear this. Also we'll increase the length, so let's go here in the edit and select this much part and say duplicate time, right? So we have so much, and then let's pull the kick all the way till here, change the grid to normal, and now let's hear it. Let's mute the fills here and even here, right? Let's play the track now. This view is too much for me, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on this edge here to make everything fit properly into the arrangement view. Okay, now let's hear this, and I want to go into this plug synth, and I want to add an automation of the volume. So for that I'll just go here and I'll click on utility, click on utility here. Oh, I already have a utility, so I'm just going to delete this, select this much portion, automation. Now let's pull this guy up, let's select this much, go here, pull this guy down this much. Let's hear this now. Let's keep it till here, the automation, and also this from 15, this can go to 20. Oops, I need to type -20. Okay, great. So now again I'm going to select this much and say duplicate time, mute the snare roll. Okay, and then I want the bass to come in with these percussions, and here I'll add the fills, right? And then I want the hi-hats to come in the third portion here, and I'll copy this kick here. Again, I'll copy this kick here. All right, and yeah, let's hear it from this portion. Oops, sorry about that. Next I'll just mute these synths. Let's hear it from here. Let's switch on the snare roll here. So once we have no drum fills or no snare roll, just the kick going off towards the end of the bar 8, and then we have a fill coming in, and then for a third variation we have some snare roll. Okay, so let's hear it again. Superb. Now I'm gonna take this one, I'm gonna put it here, right, and then I'm gonna take this entire section, duplicate it. All right, get rid of the drums completely, get the vocals in. Whole set of vocals in here. Let's switch it on. Let's hear it. Okay, the timing is wrong, so let's get it here. Let's zoom. Okay, don't want that last portion. Let's hear it again. Right, so let's hold on command and push this guy in and get some fade going on towards the end so we don't get any clicks and pops. Right, so let's copy this a couple of times, just a couple of times, and this. Let's hear it again. Let's open this now for some variation. Right? And then I'm going to copy this whole thing again. Great. So alright, let's get rid of the browser as of now so that we get proper view. Let's try and put off a few things here to hear how it sounds. How about switching off the hi-hat and keeping this pluck synth on? Also get rid of the claps. Bass. The effects make such a huge difference. They're such an important part in the track. Let's keep the bass going on, right? And let's switch off the pluck synth. Let's switch on the chords. Let's hear how the chords are sounding. Also, what we can do is we can introduce the source synth here. Yes, it sounds nice. So let's keep this here as well. Okay, we can pull the chords down a couple of dB.
got that heartbeat. You got that heartbeat.
Also, we can go into the automation again of the saw synth and get it down again, 20 dB down, because we want it to fade out and we want the importance to come only to the leads and the piano, right? So
You got that heartbeat. You got that heartbeat. You got that heartbeat.
let's switch off the snare roll. Okay, and let's select this, duplicate this, switch off the bass here. Let's get the piano in. Right, now let's hear it.
Fire singing. You got that heartbeat. You got that heartbeat. You got that heartbeat.
Let's push the vocals up a bit because it's getting drowned.
Choir singing. You got that heartbeat. You got that heartbeat. You got that heartbeat.
Okay, here the percussions can go off.
Heartbeat, beat, sound just like a choir singing. You got that heartbeat. You got that heartbeat. You got that.
Sounds amazing. Let's switch off this perk. Let's get rid of this plug synth here. Let's keep only the piano and the chords.
Sound just like a choir singing. You got that heartbeat. You got that heartbeat. You got that heartbeat. You got that heartbeat. Sound just like a choir singing.
And then I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna just try something,
You got that heartbeat.
just something different. Now what I plan to do is add some reverb in the vocal track. Let's go into reverb and let's add the main hall preset. And the reason I am adding a reverb device inside the vocal track is I want to add some automation. I want to do some automation, right? So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to select 1/8 and see the number, select the grid, right? 1/8 is 246 and 1/4 will be 492. So I'm going to select 1/4 and go for 492. So I'm going to enter 4920, right? And I'm going to get the drive it down a bit. So I'll just solo the vocals first and just hear this.
Got that heartbeat, sound just like a choir singing. You got that heartbeat.
Right, and then what I'm gonna do is, let's, for the arrangement's sake, I need to duplicate this here as well. Okay, and I'm gonna go into vocals automation, click on freeze, right? I'm gonna click and select the freeze till here, like this. Okay, and now just let's hear what it sounds like.
Choir singing, you got that heartbeat.
So what it's going to do is actually, so what it's actually doing is freezing the reverb in that portion, and that's what I want. So let me just get rid of the automation and let me right click this track and select the option freeze track. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select this much portion and I'm going to pull it down into the audio track, right? And then I'm going to go back into the automation. First, let me get rid of the freeze by clicking unfreeze here, and let me go into the main hall, freeze. Just going to select here and just delete it. I don't want the automation. Alright, okay, so let's work on this sample. So what I'm going to do is I've added the auto pan in the track, and I'm going to make some settings. And first is I'm going to get the phase all the way down, amount all the way up, and I'm going to draw a shape something like this, right? And I'm just going to solo this track here so you can hear what I'm doing, what kind of effect am I making. So I'm going to move the rate and just hear how it sounds. Okay, right, so till here I'm going to automate it. So let's click here, draw another point here, actually not here, let's draw a point here, and let's move this till say around 22, right? Okay, yeah, and now let's hear it with the track. Right, so this cannot be heard well, and that's because of the piano. So I'm going to mute the piano, and now let's hear it. Alright, this is fine. Let's add something that can bring this sample out. So I'm going to go into distortion, and let's add the saturator, and let's select medium curve. Perfect. And next what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the fills, and I'm just going to activate the fills, and yeah, the vocals also I'm going to paste them a couple of times so it sounds like a continuity.
You got that heartbeat.
Okay, when the fill comes, I want this guy to die off, so I'll just remove that middle portion, and also what I'll do is this saw lead, right? I'm just going to paste this here. I'll just check if everything is fine with the automation on this. So I'm going to switch 1 second. I want it to fade in with the frequency, so I'm just going to click on this, the frequency knob, get rid of the pencil, and open the frequency all the way here, and just get rid of, switch it on and get rid of the pattern when the fill is coming in. Alright, so I'll just make you hear how it sounds. Right, we want that effect, and how this whole thing is going to sound. Let's select this section, paste it here, and the last few things that I'd like to do is just mute this snare roll here, switch it on here, switch on the piano here and the chords here, and let's hear the final thing.
got that heartbeat. You got that heartbeat. Sound just like a choir singing. You got that heartbeat. You got that heartbeat. You got that heartbeat. You got that heartbeat. You got that heartbeat.
I hope you guys like the video, and I'll see you in the next one.